So Apple has a big problem now, and it's your fault. You watching specifically, it's all your fault. No, not you specifically, but like you collectively, my audience, other tech creators' audiences, and also us, I think, are to blame here. I will 100% take some blame. I'll take one for the team, the tech community, on my back because something's up. See, there's something weird going on in the tech space right now, and it's something in my 10 years of doing YouTube that I've never seen before. I mean, I have touched essentially every single Apple product that has released in some way since 2013, and I've never seen a product cycle like with the M2 chip. Hey, let's just play a little game real quick. What do you think of when you think of the M2 chip? Because based on what I see in my recommended videos and when I search for the M2 on YouTube, I'm seeing that the product overheats and gets really hot, so it has to thermal throttle itself. I'm seeing that the SSD is super slow compared to even the last model. And I'm even seeing that in some cases, just general performance is slower on some models of the M2 variant. And listen, a couple of those things are fair. Actually, two of those things are pretty fair. Number one, the SSD is slower. That is objective. And why Apple did this doesn't make any sense. They only put one 256 gigabyte storage chip in here instead of two separate 128 gigs. So it's slower, sometimes up to 50% slower than the previous M1 generation. What are we doing out here, guys? It's not cool. But here's the thing about that. I haven't noticed it. Now, I know, trust me, I'm making this video for the comment you're about to leave right now. So you're just letting this pass? You're letting Apple get a slide for this? You're just putting it under the rug, man? I thought you were a real one. Hey, I still think I'm a real one for the record because I'm not giving Apple a pass by saying I haven't noticed it. Can't these two things be true? That yes, it will be a problem for some people and they will notice it, but consequently, B, I have not noticed it in the 3 days I've been using the computer. Genuinely haven't noticed it. Now, I'm not doing my full heavy 4K workload and having 30 images in Pixelmator open at the same time. Just using Safari, watching videos, checking my email, looking at photos, doing some light editing there. I'm using this computer like it's supposed to be used, and I haven't noticed any issues. Leads us to the second thing. Again, fair, which is that, well, there's a catch because it's only 256 gigs. And there's only 8 gigabytes of RAM in here. When the 8 gigabytes of RAM fill up and you're using a lot of heavy programs, then it uses the internal storage as like backup RAM. It's called swap. And well, if the storage is full because it's only 256 gigs, well, then the performance of the whole computer can slow down. And I've seen videos demonstrating this, but again, when I'm using this, not testing for it, I don't notice it. So I'm sitting here, right? I'm watching these videos from creators that I love on my M2 MacBook Air that are telling me this computer shouldn't be good, that this base model for $1199 that I have, it shouldn't be working very well based on all this testing. But in my testing, it's fine. So I'm starting to think like, what's up? Like, this is obviously not a serious issue that most people will encounter, again, unless you are pushing and looking for it. And this brings me to the tipping point, the reason that we're here today, which is videos about thermal throttling. Let's just define this really quick just so we're all on the same page. Thermal throttling is not a bad thing. It is simply the process to where a CPU gets too hot, so in order to not keep heating up and melt through your laptop, it cools itself down. This is common across the industry, but it means that by clocking itself down, the power output in gigahertz are lower. So the performance that Apple has promised under a heavy load or extended duration where the CPU is taxed and there's heavy shit going on, well, it's going to throttle and slow itself down. So if you're exporting 4K video after video after video after video, the computer heats up because why? It's a fanless M2 MacBook Air. Again, that's the point. So again, man, I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, great. Now I've got this computer with an unusable SSD, a horrible swap system, and now I have to open it up with my little screwdriver and put these patches in here to absorb the heat? Being facetious here again, but I really think that if somebody just went on tech YouTube right now, searched M2 MacBook Air, and saw that it thermal throttles with a fire in the template, that looks really scary, and then you see the test and it's performing worse, it's like, why would I buy this computer? It was only after my podcast, Genius Bar, where we talked about this, I'll leave a link down below, that it really became clear when my friend Luke Miani said something that really made sense to me.
You know, I'm talking to a more tech-informed audience. 95% of the people that are going to buy a MacBook Air don't even watch tech YouTube. So we're not really making videos for them. You're making videos for the tech side of things.
They're making it for their audiences. Their audiences want to know if you push this cheap $1,200 machine to the limits, what happens? That's the first half of the community. The other half, they're people like me. They're like, man, I just love this new design. It looks stunning. I think that the performance upgrades that we got of any kind are great. And even though the SSD is a problem for some people, I don't think I would notice it. I don't think the swap situation, I don't think I would notice. And that's me because I haven't noticed it. And then seeing these thermal throttling videos again, I'm like, bro, what is going on? Like, can't we just give this machine some credit? My through line for this is that tech is really good now. Like, the M2 MacBook Air, just block out what everybody else is saying for just a moment and listen to me. This is an incredible device. Do you guys remember the MacBook Airs from just 3 years ago that had weak Intel chips in them that were a laughing stock for any kind of work above Google Docs? So now I have this in my hand, M2 Apple Silicon in an all new MacBook Air, and I'm like, we're still not happy. Okay, because that's not me. I'm not that audience. When it comes to tech, I like to test it. I like to make sure Apple's telling the truth, which is why I'm making this video, to tell you the cases where they fall short. But there's other times when I'm like, yeah, thermal throttling sounds really bad and scary, but that's what this is supposed to do. But wait a second, I said you were the problem. How are you the problem exactly? Well, because this is such a good device, we have to start looking really deep at parts of the MacBook Air we wouldn't have even explored a few years ago because the entire package just wasn't that great. So let's take a granular look at the SSD, at swap performance, at how it handles crazy intense programs. You're the one leaving the comments, and I'm the one making the videos. You see how it's cyclical here? M2 MacBook Air, we get it. It's like, oh, it's pretty good. So what's interesting about it? Well, if we run Blender on here, it starts to thermal throttle after a while. Now, that's a video people click on. It's a video that somebody like me would make. I'm not assigning blame to you, and I'm not assigning blame to creators. It's really just a side effect of the internet and how content works now. But I wanted to make this video, well, to tell you my experience, which is really, really good. And while I'm not usually a pessimist about things, I do think this cycle is going to keep going. I mean, it's clearly working. You guys are giving people hundreds of thousands of views. They're getting rewarded with money. They're going to make another video. You give them views. I mean, that's how I make my own videos. The videos that perform well, I tend to make again and again. Sorry, guys. Spoiler alert. You outed me. Oh, and one final thought before I wrap up this video. I don't want anybody to stop making their comparison videos. Like, they're awesome. I love that we're discovering things about the M2 MacBook Air. It's great. Like, I'm with you guys. Just like we need like a T. Like, I feel like I just want to be the ref on the field being like, hey, yeah, like there's some negative stuff. Don't forget about the other 50 positive things. I want to close by just saying to be aware of this. Be aware that this cycle exists. So when you see a lot of negative videos about the M2 MacBook Pro or the M2 MacBook Air, it doesn't actually mean that the product is bad. It just means it's probably good to the point where we have to start looking a little bit closer. Some products are objectively bad. Like, I hate my HomePod Mini, dude. Where are all the negative videos on the HomePod Mini? It's ironic to me that we'll spend so long tearing this computer apart that is at least 1,000 times better than the HomePod Mini that makes me want to do bad things. This makes me want to do good things. So buy the M2 MacBook Air. Again, I'd recommend a little bit higher because the SSD thing, but even if you walk into an Apple store and buy that one, I don't think you're gonna notice unless you're somebody like me who looks at this stuff like I do, and then you may notice. All right, that's all for now. These are my thoughts, and I'm going to keep enjoying this M2 MacBook Air, man. This thing is awesome.